All right. Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well. Rock music is back, baby. Rock music is back. It is in fact back. And how do I know? Because the torch culturally is being passed from one generation to the next. You have one of the greats here, one of the greatest of all time when it comes to rock frontmen, one of the most legendary and influential, actually, Mr. Mick Jagger, heaping praise onto the likes of Machine Gun Kelly in an interview. Mick Jagger voiced support for MGK and Youngblood for breathing new life into rock and roll. Appearing on the Swedish radio station P4, the Rolling Stones frontman said via The Independent, "In rock music, you need energy!" And there have not been a lot of new rock singers around. Now, there are a few. You have Youngblood and Machine Gun Kelly, that kind of post-punk vibe, just like Joy Division, makes me think that there's still a bit of life left in rock and roll. Jagger also shut down any rumors of his retirement and so on and so forth. And, you know, that man's going to be wiggling and shaking until he's on his deathbed, I swear to you. But again, with that being said, Mick Jagger, Machine Gun Kelly, Youngblood, bringing rock energy back, post-punk vibe. I do disagree with that sentiment. Machine Gun Kelly isn't exactly like Public Image Limited or anything like that, but you know, Mick Jagger, as far as like punk and post-punk goes, that may be the man's like, you know, last most major vivid memory of that stuff. So I guess I kind of get it. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys wanted to come into this video seeing its title, knowing my history with MGK's music, and just kind of want to click on this and vibe for a bit and want to see me just like shit all over MGK, shit on that man, shit on his music, shit on his songs that he should not be writing at the big-ass age of 30. I will say to Mick, you should most definitely check out bands like Soul Glow, for example. I do understand that he's kind of limiting his view to a mainstream context over here. And when it comes to the Hot 100, the top 40, as of right now, like, you know, rock frontmen aren't really like the vibe. It's not the flavor of the week at the moment. And in that respect, MGK does in fact stand out. But like I said, I'm sure a lot of you guys came in expecting for me to just utterly shit on MGK and talk about how ridiculous Mick Jagger's statements here are. And I do disagree as far as like the post-punk framing here. With that being said, like, yeah, MGK is in his own way bringing a lot more attention to rock music and pop punk in general than there may in fact be if he was not around, if he was not doing his thing, if he did not transition into this whole pop punk sound that he has over the past couple of years. Now, that's not to call the man a saint. That's not to say the guy is necessarily doing the genre any favors, but Mick Jagger, you know, one of the greatest frontmen of rock music, you do have to kind of feel for the guy and see from his perspective, like this cultural zenith that he was on the forefront of and had the pleasure of seeing like last decades beyond him, is now kind of seeing a totally and entirely different musical landscape. I think at this point, like, he's going to take what he can get. And look, you know, even if I don't really mess with MGK's music all that much, it still is worth pointing out and saying that MGK could effectively serve as a gateway drug for a lot of younger listeners into pop punk, better pop punk, punk music in general. Lord knows that when I was a kid getting into R&B and hip hop and rock music, like the first artists that I came across weren't always the best. It was usually like whatever the radio or MTV was handing me. And I just kind of, you know, very uncritically listened to all of it and took it all in, and whatever appealed to me. And I grew older and got pickier with my tastes and got a bit more choosy and a bit more, you know, well aware of certain things as far as like artistry and authenticity and the way certain genres and musical movements have kind of grown and changed and what inspired them, how they began. So all of these things have brought me to the tender age of 36, being in a position where, yeah, as an experienced music listener, I'm probably not likely to enjoy the music of Machine Gun Kelly. But I'm still very much open to the idea and understanding of the fact that he could very much be, in his own way, a gateway drug for people who, from his past couple of records, may get into, you know, more underground stuff. I mean, as toxic as a song like Sid and Nancy is off his last LP, maybe some kid looking at his record will look up Sid Vicious, will look up Sex Pistols, will look up Public Image Limited will look up other UK punk bands as a result of that kind of rabbit hole that has been placed there before them. It's a possibility. Then before you know it, you're listening to Crass and Early Against Me, and you're just like a gutter punk. So like, could you argue from this comment that Mick Jagger is old, he's out of touch, he's not with it? I mean, sure, that's kind of a natural progression of being older and having so much success over the course of your career. Does that mean that what he's saying is like completely not worth hearing? No, absolutely not. It's just coming from a certain kind of perspective. And it's interesting to see that perspective because, you know, none of us are going to have the perspective of a guy like Mick Jagger because that is coming from such a unique experience that like only a handful of people on this planet are going to have in terms of the stardom, in terms of the influence. What he's been able to notice from a bird's eye view of being in such a high perch within the rock genre. Again, of course, from where he is, he's seeing the genre's cultural status lowered a bit. And in looking down on where rock music is currently, you know, he's seeing a little Machine Gun Kelly in the distance doing his little, you know, Tickets to My Downfall dance, and most likely thinking, okay, there you go. That guy's rocking, and I think I am going to leave it at that. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit up the comments, let me know what you think of MGK and his post-punk vibes. And yeah, you're the best. I will see you in the next one. Anthony Fantano, Mick Jagger, MGK, forever.